Good morning. This is Maria Quattrone, and this is the Be the Solution podcast. And today I welcome my guest, Johnny McDonald.
Good morning. Hi,
Good
Maria.
morning.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. At 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Johnny,
Cool little promo, Rep.
look how far you've come.
Yeah, what does that mean? Draw a line, draw another line, draw 365 lines. I didn't get it.
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
So, in the book, The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, if every single day, just take a piece of paper, draw a line on it, draw another line, every single day, one line, as thin as the pen. That's it. If you add up all those lines over the course of 1 year, right, you have 365 lines. If you just improved that little bit each day, how much have you improved in a year's time?
A lot.
A lot. So the premise of it is the value of the compound effect. Once you learn something, you don't go backwards, right? You keep learning, you keep building upon it. There's layers and layers and layers and layers and layers to all of this. So that's what that's about.
That's cool. That's cool. It's absolutely true. You know, it's in anything, the compound effect, just an investment in money management. You know, you put it in, you put a little more in the next day, a penny a day, whatever. And all of a sudden you pick up your head a year later and it's more than the sum of its parts because it's compound.
The compound effect.
Compound effect.
Yes. I love it. It's one of my favorite books. It's an easy read. And I've met Darren a few times and he's a cool guy.
Cool.
So good stuff. So on to you and your journey. Gosh, I don't know how long ago we met, but I've been in the industry 17 years.
I'll have my 18th anniversary, ironically enough, on my 49th birthday, September 21st. I got my license. I got my license from the state on September 21st. I guess 2003, which would make me, I don't know.
Yes, that's a year. I was licensed in 2004 of March.
Yeah. So we've been doing it a while. We're a little long in the tooth, girl.
Been doing it a little bit, but we met, I think, like not long after that. So I would say at least 15 years, right?
And one of my favorite memories is a really cool cocktail party that we ended up at in Margate or something. And it was the first time I had known you a bit before that. It was the first time I had a chance to introduce you to my wife Tiffany, and you were with your man at the time. That was fresh, no? Have you guys?
Yeah,
been
was that at Kelly's party? Kelly had somebody at the party, but Kelly.
Yeah, it was. I went there because my good friend Nicole Cashman, Cashman Associates, threw a really cool party. I think it was like Bernie Robbins or something, and there were some really cool people there. I met this guy named Leonard Silk there, who turns out he lives a block away from me. He's lived there for a long time, and I've only been in my house for 6 years now. But I just remember that party. It was a beautiful setting, really smart, awesome people, and of course, you were one of them.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah,
that was early on in the day, so it must have been about when Chip and I got together. So it must have been 2009.
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah, 11 years ago. Yeah, I mean Tiffany and I got together in 2006, so it was not longer than 15 years ago, but yeah, it was fun.
That's a good time. So
we got our time in.
Time is in. But one thing that you do well is that you keep on going and keep on building, and you take what you've done and you build upon it and now creating businesses that you had before, but in addition, other businesses. So what's in store for Johnny McDonald and his group of businesses and team these days?
The immediate feeling is overwhelm. That's the answer.
Well, thank you for being honest.
Yeah, listen, man. I mean, of course you're gonna be honest. Yeah, we just have a lot of irons in the fire, and combined with, we're myself, my team, and when I say my team, I mean realtors that I work with on the McDonald Group, but absolutely without question the team of the Onion Flats enterprise, and that involves two of my blood brothers, Pat and Tim. Includes one of my childhood friend brothers, Howard Steinberg, and then a whole team of architects and a whole team of construction managers and green roof solar installers and property managers. I mean, it's pretty amazing what, when we say it, I say it. I said it yesterday to Howard. It's pretty crazy what, we've done what we've done, and we haven't done what we haven't done, but it's pretty amazing what four kids from Havertown have kind of come together and just plotted their own journey. We've really never worked for anybody other than ourselves, and I think that was instilled in me, certainly by my parents, my father. And what's in store for us? Managing the shit that we've built, and there becomes the overwhelm.
So how many properties are you managing these days? Are they all yours that you manage, or do you do third-party management as well?
So they're all of the units that we manage are ones that Onion Flats owns, with the exception of one 5-unit building that my brother from the West Coast owns. So it's really a family affair, and we're betwixt in this little space of, do we grow it or do we not? And a good mechanic friend of mine, when he retired, I said, come on, man, you're like the best mechanic I know, you can't retire. He goes, I'm just sick and tired of fixing other people's broken stuff. And that's the betwixt space that we're in. To run a property management division is one thing, to manage our own stuff, but there's a level of expense and that we have to manage just operationally. And the idea is you should be able to put more units on top of it. Therefore, third-party client-based services like our architecture, like real estate brokerage, like we do in our other enterprises. But at the same time, property management is a bear.
It is a bear. There's a lot of heavy lifting in it, and all it is one problem after the other.
Yeah, and I'm beginning to consider, and I head up that division for our company. And,
God bless you.
Yeah, and it's overwhelmed. I mean, it's just one more layer on top of everything else. And to be frank, it's grown quite a bit in the last couple of years as we've doubled and then doubled again our portfolio of our investment portfolio.
Are all your properties in like the Kensington, Fishtown, all that side of the city area? Or where else are you?
Old City to Fishtown.
Okay.
Old City to Port Richmond.
Yep. So they're at least in a concentrated area. It's not like you got people running all over the city. So that's good.
Yeah. It's got.
And most of your stuff is newer, right? New. You build ground up and renovation, or are you picking up other pieces?
About half of the portfolio is built within the last 5 years. Again, doubled and then doubled again, the portfolio. But we still own assets from 1997.
How great is that?
It's pretty great. There's some nostalgia to it. I manage. Now that I think about it, I do manage some onesie twosies for friends, clients, in addition to our portfolio and my West Coast brothers stuff. And I was in one of the units in Old City Saturday that I just put on the market, and I've had it rented for 5-7 years since my buddy and client moved back to Europe, and I was showing it to other buddy clients to rent it. And it was just really cool. It was really cool because I remember the story I told. The heaviest thing I've ever lifted in my life was this 8-foot section of Pennsylvania ribbon slate and a countertop. I mean, it was hundreds of pounds, and myself and 3 other guys carried this thing up a 5-floor walk-up. I mean, it was literally the heaviest thing. It was the weirdest thing to carry. Anyway, when I walked into the unit to show my clients this space, like all of those memories flushed back from 20 years ago. And it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. We literally built this with our hands. You know? So you're right. It is cool. And, you know.
Think back to then
Yeah.
when you started. Everybody starts at 0, right? Remember?
It's true.
Everybody starts at 0. So you started at this, like, it was an idea. And then the idea grew from there. How did Onion Flats start?
So my brothers Pat and Tim and my father Jack bought a building, 126 Market Street in 1997. They turned it. My dad is a master plumber. My brother Pat is a master plumber. My brother Tim is an architect and was a professor at the time. Do you know where Franklin Fountain is?
Yes.
So that used to be a place called Erotic Cakes. Erotic.
Oh,
Cakes.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You remember Erotic
Yeah,
Cakes?
I did because I lived in Old City then.
Yeah. So they made cakes and pastry that were penises and boobs and stuff
That were
like
erotic.
that. Erotic cakes, right? So my brother Tim lived on the 4th floor of that building, and he was having a cup of coffee, looking out the window, and literally saw a guy nail a for sale sign on 126 Market Street. He probably went to a payphone or whatever you did in '97, and went to his landline and called the number, set up an appointment, and bought the building. He, my brother Pat, my father, all went in and put the down payment together. Didn't buy it cash. Tim ended up navigating an FHA loan for a 10,000 square foot, 5-story commercial building. He found, Tim's amazing at this. He kind of gets fixated on things and just figures it out, and found this loophole, if you will, in an FHA program to get the acquisition dollars to close the acquisition, so that they use their cash on nights and weekends. Literally, they would pull in after plumbing all week and teaching all week, and on a Friday night, and sleep there until Monday morning. Get up.
Oh my God.
My dad would go back plumbing with my brother. So that's how they built it, like literally one stick at a time. So when you say I started from 0, to be frank, I didn't. I mean, my journey, sure, but I was blessed and fortunate with amazing family, amazing parents. And when when I joined the company after my dad passed away in 2001, I started at 0, digging ditches. I was a garbage man. I went from running a record label and management company on the West Coast and moved back, and I was a laborer. And there's an old saying, you need to be a soldier before you're a general. And that was the program. My dad passed away, and I said, I'm lonely. I'm not, I miss you guys.
You miss your family.
I miss my family. I was fearful, to lose my mother 20 years later. My mom, we just celebrated with 30 of us at her house in Ocean City, her 80th birthday.
Oh, God bless her.
Reunion last week, which was amazing.
Awesome.
But yeah, I had this, I was 28 years old, and I had this concern that I was, I was in California for 10 years at the time, and I didn't want to miss other situations, like miss my family. So I moved back. They hired me to be a laborer. I basically hung with my brother Pat and did everything he told me, and then started saying, hey, I can put some other of my talents to work here, in addition to digging ditches all day and demoing buildings. Let me take over this and the finances and the accounts payable, accounts receivable, and that property management. And then ultimately we decided to build a project, and we were getting to the place. I was physically building it with the crew, and I was like, I'm gonna get a real estate license. What the hell? Nobody knows this stuff our project better than me. I mean, I'm literally building it. I got a real estate license, and almost 18 years later, we're here today.
So that project, is that the project in Northern Liberties, on Laurel and New? Like those over there?
So Onion Flats, again, I didn't start from zero with Onion Flats. Onion Flats, Pat and Tim and my dad did 126 Market, and then they bought the second project they did, they bought the Capital Meat Packing Plant at 144 West Laurel Street, which we still own, and did an 8-unit conversion of the meat packing plant. It was an amazing project. There were packs of wild dogs running around Liberties at the time, literally vacant lots, burnout buildings everywhere. That was in 99. And it was a bustling neighborhood. The Standard Tap had just opened. You know, like the community in Northern Liberties, like the community in Old City, just was full of vibrant, like colorful, terrific people, as in addition to, you know, blown out shells and vacant lots. It was really just creative, artistic folks that were inhabiting this neighborhood. Pat and Tim did that project, and that's when when it was finishing up, right at the end of that project, that's when my dad passed away. That's when I moved back. And the next thing they bought was a big site, you know, 17,000 square foot site on Burke Street, Burke's in Belgrade. And we named that project Rag Flats. It was an old linen manufacturing plant 100 years ago. So we built 11 units there. And that's when I really got in to the business. They hired me. They paid me $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year, and I took $1,000 of it. I lived on $1,000 a month and put $2,000. Actually, didn't take $2,000. So over the course of the year, I had $24,000 in escrow, if you will. And a year later, I went and the sheriff's sale and bought my first piece of property with that money.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was a property at 1318 East Houston Street. It was a street to street, 17 foot wide, 110 foot site. And I subdivided it and built the first 2 LEED certified homes in the city of Philadelphia on it. One of which, plug 1317 East Berks, is on the market today.
How about that?
Yeah. So I sold it 12, 13, 14 years ago to the clients who I'm selling it for right now.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's totally cool. It's totally cool.
I love when I sell things 2 and 3 times. It's even cooler because you built it. So
yeah, and my first project, you know, it was my name. I took out the construction financing on it. It was like, I was like, what? You're really going to give me all this money? I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And I'm not going to buy a Range Rover, I promise. And I built 2 amazing houses, again, with a team, never by myself, ever by myself. Talk about be the solution. As I've been thinking about this conversation, it's without a doubt a team. And you know that as well as anybody. And it's, as you can't do it on your own. You can create some ideas, but then you need to hand them off and let the smart people you surrounded yourself with run with it and crush it. And you know, you like I have done that with our families, our blood.
mm-hmm.
But you know, if depending on where you want to go with it, you can't rely on just your family. So you have to, you know, the people that you work with become your family. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, but you spend more time with the people. Well, anyway, I do with the people in my office than with my own family. So, you know, you better like them, and you better, you know, treat them like a family. I think it's really important. Something we talk about all the time here.
Yeah. And if you don't like them and you're not willing to invest like that, find a new family. Like find a new gig. Do something different. That was a big lesson I learned out of my dad passing at 62 years old. Like I was 28, he was 62. In my head, he was old, but no, he wasn't. And when I got clarity around how young he actually was at 62, I realized life is short and life is precious. And if you're not doing what you want to do, don't do it. Go do something else.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to do that when you're wrapped up in something too.
In the middle of overwhelm.
in the middle of overwhelm. You have
So,
to figure it out though, because
I'm
I was
sorry.
reading something last night. It said if you to make decisions, tough decisions. It said if you on your deathbed would regret it, then do or don't make the decision. Not making it.
Then do or don't make the decision.
Yeah. So if you are thinking about it on your deathbed, and if you regret not making that decision, then either do make the decision or don't make the decision. Meaning yes or no. Like, I don't explain. So if you're dying and you think back and said, I should have done blah, blah, blah.
I should have bought that marina.
Well, that's too late. So that would be the decision. Buy the goddamn marina. Excuse me.
When you're thinking about making a decision, consider
Correct.
yourself on the deathbed.
Yes.
Got it.
Sorry. I didn't
that
have the
puts
coffee
you-
yet. I'm waiting
That's
for the
all right.
coffee to be delivered to me.
That's all right. Black with cream, I heard. In our
Well,
fruit
I
bar.
didn't want just black this morning because sometimes it's a little too bitter. So I was waiting for the cream to arrive.
Mhm.
I left it at home. I forgot it. I brought it last
How
night to
far-
bring in.
Where are you living now in relationship to your office? I drive past your
Oh,
office at least once a
5
week.
minutes away. We're still.
Oh, you're right
we're
there.
still. Yeah, we've been looking for a house, Johnny, but gotta find a better broker.
1317 East Kirk Street, 19125.
No, not down here.
You
Not in town. No.
Oh.
Yes. Not
Where
in
you
the
moving?
city.
Out by me?
Maybe or Chestnut Hill, West Mount Airy. If you know anything.
I just put something under contract in Mount Airy, East Mount Airy, last night at 11:58, and just might rent a house on Gresham in West Mount Airy this past week. So settling this week. A sweet house on Glengarry, Chestnut Hill.
What is it?
Just a new construction home. I represent the buyer, good friends of mine. They're moving from Northern Liberties. We put it under contract a year ago, and it's been being built for the past year.
Oh, who's the builder?
DeLuca Construction.
What
Nick
street is that
DeLuca.
on?
It's on Glengarry.
Oh,
Nick DeLuca, who worked with me for the last 5 years since he got his real estate license, and then he spun off. We worked it out so that he could start the DeLuca Group because he's doing great work, and he's got a similar family story to me. He comes from a family of builders as well, and it was time for him to spread his wings.
714 Glengarry?
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
How'd it come out?
It's come out really well. It's a really well built, nice home. Clients are happy. We're right at the finish line. So
Punch list? They're punching it out?
Yeah, they're punching it out, and there's some bigger items. There's some minor items, and everybody's in a good place. We have a settlement. We had a walkthrough set up for 8:30 this morning, and it got pushed to Friday. We have settlement set up for Friday on it, but not sure. We're still waiting on a CO, quite frankly. So we can't settle without that.
The joys of new construction.
Yeah, especially during a pandemic in this city of Philadelphia.
It's not been easy. It's not been easy. It's taking longer and longer to deliver product. Supply chain issues, permitting issues, inspection issues.
Supply chain issues, I don't think we've even begun to see the beginning of it. If you speak with my wife, Tiffany, she's at the molecular level inside of raw materials and chemistry and chemicals and supply chain. And she says it's the Hunger Games every day. There are just there are massive issues, really massive issues inside of supply chain literally from the molecular.
Yeah, so tell me more about that. What do you mean?
So the pandemic had everybody slow down, and
Sure.
therefore companies, chemical manufacturers are not building the inventory because A, they don't have the labor force at work, and B, they, you know what? Give me a second. I just got a note that I thought my computer was plugged in. I got a low battery. Hang tight.
Okay.
I'm back. All better.
Okay.
So they were not building inventory at the typical scale in which they did in the typical scale. So therefore inventories were depleted. I'm talking about like raw materials. I can't even pronounce the stuff that this is, but all the stuff that goes into your face wash and paint thinner and everything in between, those words that you can't pronounce, those long words. And so inventory went down because of the pandemic. And then what happened was in February, there was this massive ice storm that hit Texas and Louisiana. You read about it in the paper. People didn't have heat. People's pipes froze.
Right. Houston, the pipes blew up.
Exactly. Well, check it out. The 90%, 99%, maybe I'm making that up, but the gross majority of raw material chemical manufacturing is done in where? Texas and Louisiana on the Gulf Coast. And it obliterated it. Like one scenario is when they plan a shutdown of a manufacturing facility, they scale it over 2 years. And every manufacturing facility got frozen, like big pipes with liquid nitrogen and water, and they blew out overnight. So now they didn't have inventory in their stock fields, and now they are rebuilding the factories to start building inventory. Apparently it's a mess, and not apparently, because I listened to Tiffany manage like incredibly challenging conversations on the daily basis.
What does she do?
She's in chemical distribution, has been for 20 years.
Wow.
And she
That's really scary.
like it's scary from so the ripple effect. This happened in February, and the ripple effect is just becoming consumer level. I mean, walk through Target. The shelves are not stocked. The basic goods are not there because these molecular raw materials go into everything, not just lumber and sheetrock in our industry. I'm talking about this, I'm talking about what goes into a phone and a case and the glass, and it's hardcore. I don't mean to be a negative Nelly about this, but it's from my perspective, and it is genuinely through Tiffany's eyes, conversations that we have, and the Wall Street Journal. It's just beginning to hit. It's just beginning to land, and it probably will have an effect for the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. The next 12 plus minus months is what is being predicted. Now, pivot. There's also all this conversation about inflation and interest rates, like down to our molecular level.
Right.
I think they're going to hold strong. So I think we're going to be in a artificially depressed interest rate market for another 6 to 12 months. I mean, the Fed's talking about bumping it a quarter point between now and the end of the year. But still, I'm talking to clients. It's like, yeah, okay, so buy now if we can find you something, or sell now if you're considering it in the next 6 to 12 months, because interest rates will bump. But then again, even if they bump a half a point over the course of the next 12 months, you're still sub 4. You're in the mid 3s. Like that's that is below inflation, and as I call it, free money. You know,
There's
so
a lot. There's a lot going on. So
There's a
should we
lot going
stock?
on.
Should we be stocking up on stuff?
on toilet paper,
I don't know. Soap.
I don't know.
Or you could do like the celebrities do and just shower every other day.
Is that what they're doing?
You know what? I saw this thing on Facebook and somebody was talking about the showering. I'm like, I don't care what these people say. People need to take a shower on the daily. Like
I
that.
don't know. If
Something that everybody should be doing. Like, don't come to work if you're not
nobody's
showering.
going to work, everybody's sitting at home, working.
Well,
And-
I'm at work.
And by that math, I guess I'm a celebrity because for the last year, I haven't been on the daily.
Oh God. Oh, so I want to hear more about your building. Told me you're building in you have an architecture company, but you're doing third-party services now.
Yeah, well, we always have, but we've ramped up our third-party services just because, again, the compound effect. We've been building these really high-performance, energy-efficient buildings for decades now, and or a decade and a half at least, and
Yeah.
And everyone you do, you learn a little bit more. You learn a little bit more. Us as a culture, our Onion Flats way of being is just to push the envelope. Oh, we built a LEED certified building. Cool. Let's build a LEED platinum, like a higher level. So
What's the highest level? Is that gold, platinum? I guess.
in
is the
LEED
highest?
certification, the highest
Yeah.
level is platinum. It's certified silver, gold, platinum. But then what? Then we started investigating. Well, why? What does LEED do, and what does it not do? It's a nice certification, but where we got really interested was not are your floors bamboo, sustainable material? Yeah, you do that anyway. But what we got interested in was energy efficiency. What does it cost how do you lessen the impact on Mother Earth in running a building? Because buildings are the gross majority of natural resource sucks and a carbon offput. The building of a building, buildings in general. So we started looking and geeked out on energy efficiency and investigated and discovered a system known as the passive house system. And it's essentially just a hyper insulated building with incredible framing details in order to insulate. Instead of framing a corner like this, you step it back so that there's no thermal bridging. There's actually insulation in between the cavity of the building. And then after you insulate it from the interior, you insulate it again on the exterior, and then you put triple pane insulated windows in that, the windows that we use in some of these projects have an R factor of framing that other contractors use in their walls. Like you put your hand on a 30-degree day, you open the window, you put your hand on the outside of it and it's freezing, on the inside of it and it's warm, right? So that we've kind of stepped away from the LEED certification process and really gotten more interested in energy efficiency and passive house certification. And it's been cool because we've been building multifamily units, 25, 30 unit buildings to this standard, and it makes a difference. And from a it's energy efficient, obviously. It's good for the earth, obviously. We've pushed ourselves, learned a lot, obviously. But from the consumer standpoint, in these buildings, we are offering $40 to $50 a month flat fee utilities. You get your heat, your air conditioning, your water, your everything but your internet, because I don't pay for your internet. $40 a month for a house in Fishtown or Northern Liberties, or so it's like your base rent is your base rent. That's market rate. And instead of having you're not going to get a $250 February heating bill, right? It's going to be $40, just like it was in September, just like it will be in April.
That's great.
So that's the stuff that we've been working on.
Do you get tax credits on those kinds of deals, or?
There are. we've gotten, what are they called? They're like ingenuity credits, R&D, research and development credits that we've gotten. That has to do with, putting in a hyper insulated building because we spend more money on these buildings.
Yeah. How much more is the cost? What's the percentage more of the cost?
That's a good question. And it's a difficult question for me to answer because we kind of are the anomaly to the building scenario because we're a vertically structured business. So we're the developer, we buy the land, then we hire the architect and the engineers, but we're also that. And then we are the builders. So we hire ourselves. So we don't have layers and layers and layers and layers of profit. And we never have a litigation line item in our pro formas because we've thankfully never sued ourselves. Because typically developers sue this guy and don't want to pay that person, and this engineer messed up, right? So since we're 100% accountable for the development of each project, cradle to grave, we are able to build it at a rate that and deliver a high performance building at a cost that is similar to, another contractor building a code built building, another developer building a code built building. Inside of that, we certainly built code built buildings, but not for a long time. It doesn't cost any more to design a building with more insulation. Insulation is one of the least expensive items in the construction material process. So I don't know. That's a long way around the first point. I don't know, and it's a tough question. Of course, a 100 kW solar PV installation is $700,000-800,000. That's not in the budget of a typical code built building, but that's important to us to put that investment into it. So I guess as I think through it, we probably build for less than other traditional development processes, but we spend the same money because we put more into it, right?
Right. And then you have a better product at the end of the day that's efficient for the consumer, for your tenants.
Yeah.
And hope that you have, less wear and tear because of the integrity of the build.
And hope that you have, and that's been the case, you have higher occupancy rate. And again, like you're saying, fewer maintenance issues. And because we're long-term holders, we're not flippers, why wouldn't we put it in on the front end? Do the best job you can do on the front end because we're going to own it for the next 10, 30, 100 years or whatever it is. Yeah,
and you're going to write it off every year from your depreciation schedule. So Sure.
We're going to make the right financial, economic, and tax decisions as well.
So I have a question for you. So
Sure.
you have your companies have differentiated themselves in the Philadelphia real estate metro market. There are an enormous amount of buildings currently coming out of the ground as rentals in Philadelphia, Center City, and immediate surrounding areas. What are your thoughts on that, Johnny?
The fear in me is, oh my gosh, is this going to decimate the market? Are there enough people to occupy these units? Right? Like, I don't know. I kind of blindly trust the construction lenders and their underwriters because they're not lending millions of dollars to every builder that's coming out of the ground if they think the projects are going to be a failure. That's my level of underwriting around it. I trust the underwriters that lend me the money. So the fear in me is that. The flip side is I think it's awesome because, build it and they will come. And if I'm doing a project here and there's a blown out building or a vacant site around the corner, and somebody else walks down the street and puts a shovel in the ground and puts an investment next to where I am, that makes me, I'm okay with that because then I'm in the ring with them and I can go toe to toe and say, hey, I know what we did. We did the best thing we could have ever done. So you better bring your A game if you want to compete, right? And the flip side of that coin is of the fear factor is I'm excited because let the consumer go out and see project A and then my project and let them choose, you know? And we've been successful having really cool, really unique market, better places at market rate. That's been my lease-up occupancy methodology since I've started this, which is, you know, I'd rather 2 people or better 4 people want to apply for occupancy in one of my buildings as opposed to searching for 1. So how do you do that? You build a really badass building, right? And you price it appropriately. It goes way back to the beginning in the acquisition. You got to buy the land right in order to keep everything in line, in order to be able to build a badass building and bring it to market at a market rate. So
You make your money on the buy.
100%. 100%.
Still holds true and will always hold true. You know, I have some concerns about the amount of buildings. It's kind of scary.
Talk to me.
Well, you look at what the vacancy, there's a lot of vacancy right now in a lot of buildings. So if they're not here now, where are they coming from? And will they play musical chairs, musical buildings? So as the downward pressure on the rental rates because of concessions and trying to keep up with everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I didn't see this yet, but I'm going to walk by there today because I have to go. I have an appointment at 18th and Chestnut, 17th and Chestnut in a little bit. But I was told that from the Happy Rooster down to like where Slice is on Sampson, the buildings are all gone.
Oh, geez.
They're building some big tower there.
Huh.
Another one. And then
Residential?
yeah, for rent.
Huh. Who's doing that project?
I don't know. I'm going by it. I'm like in the next hour, I will be walking by there.
Yeah. Shoot me a photo of it.
I will. My sister told me about it last night at dinner. I said, what?
Yeah, I haven't been in Center City in a while. I had a settlement there last week at like 17th, 18th, and Locust. And what's the old diner? Is it Pete's?
Yes, that's now the hotel.
It's a freaking Sheridan or something.
No,
No, it's like
Hilton or something.
Yeah, it's a big brand. And I mean, interestingly enough, that site I looked at with a client, an architectural client, a developer years ago when it was a parking garage. And, you know, not that long ago, though, like maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I haven't been past there in a while. And I'm driving down 7th. Is that 17th, I think? Yeah.
So yeah, that's on 17th.
Yeah.
It's across the street from the Kitchen Keepers, and the other side is the Radisson.
Yeah, and the other hotel on the corner. So yeah, it's transforming. You know, so one way that I insulate it about that downward pressure and those concessions being offered by all these other vacant buildings just coming out of the ground. I had my team go out to every single one of our tenants and say, hey, if you over the course of June, July, August, if you want to renew a lease, I know what your lease says, and there's a bump, there's a percentage bump every month or every year, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm gonna the rent works. No changes to your lease for up to a 24-month extension, and we have released places through 2024.
That's phenomenal.
No, I take that back. We're 2021, 2023. You know, and I would say over 50, close to potentially over 60% of our rentals, our tenants renewed through that process. And now I get to exhale a little bit and go, okay, cool. As long as the money worked last year, we just got to make sure that the money works next year, and taxes go up and insurance goes up and, you know, costs go up. But you know what? those costs are incremental and minor relative to vacancies going on.
Right. And then you don't have the downtime of, of the turn of the unit
Yeah.
either, if there's any wear and tear or anything like that, because
They're there.
that could be 30 days
Yeah. Yeah.
or so, depending on your turn.
So that's a little trick and a little tip. It may be a little late because now's the prime rental season. So, people, I set it up, calculate it, got them back into like a May through August rental cycle. So if they want to, if it was this month, I wouldn't necessarily have them renew for 24 months. I'd have them renew for 22 months,
Sure.
get me back into the prime rental season in 2023. So
Smart.
that's one of the, take that if anybody needs. It's I made it up, but I'm sure other people are doing it. I made it up internally, but it's been a successful program for us. And you actually really get a sense and a connectivity with your tenant because they're like, dude, good looking out. Like, thank you. Or they're like, no, we're moving anyway. No, we can't commit to that. We may be moving for work, whatever. So now the inverse, the 40% of those who haven't renewed. Now I have a very focused scope on who it is that I need, the units that I need to be in touch with and focused on, and when I'm showing 3 people 1 unit because it's cooler and it's priced right, I go, yeah, sorry, this one just rent it, but I have that one coming up in 3 months. Oh, that's November. I know it's November, but if you can make your situation work for the next couple months, I can give you a 22-month lease on this one and go from November into June of 2023, whatever it is, And it's cool because it's all about the communication. I now know where my people's heads are. I know what they're trying to figure out for their lives, and frankly, my job is to support them,
Yeah.
And
That's
when I
great.
say support them, I mean our tenants. We are in the service business. What a service to them. They
No
pay
doubt.
me,
That's
100%.
100%. So are you feel good about the lease ups for this year?
As of today, yes. As of today, yes. We're hovering at about a 5% vacancy rate, and which is in light of the scale of our units and how we've scaled it up over the last couple of years and managing them and pandemic and as of today, I'm feeling very good. 90 days ago, when I started looking at it, I was like, we need to put a little work in here.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. So, Johnny, before we go, I have one last question for you. So tell me about your take on the Philadelphia metro real estate market from a sales perspective.
Realtor hat on.
Yes.
I've gone through, as you have, a couple 3 cycles since I've been selling real estate. My view right now is the same as it was 10, 11 years ago, through the 08, 09 situation. Philadelphia has, in my opinion, and contextually looking at it nationwide, has never boomed and I believe it's never busted. I believe that Philadelphia has been on a steady trajectory since my family, our company, has been in the real estate investment business since 1997, last quarter century. Phoenix, Miami, New York, boom, boom. Vegas, boom, boom, right? I think San Diego, boom, but it's San Diego. So my take on the market is I'm optimistic, maybe cautiously optimistic, that we are positioned geographically between the capital of the United States and the capital of the financial world, DC and New York. We are a really amazing community of neighborhoods and suburbs through Jersey to the beach, to the Poconos. I mean, this region, and I lived in San Diego for 10 years, beautiful, but I actually like the Delaware Valley more because of all that it offers and the diversity that it offers of play and recreation. And I think that probably the number one driving factor with Philadelphia, my optimism around it for the long term, is we are not a one-horse employment town. We have an economic diversity, job market diversity, like none other. For instance, Texas, Louisiana, you're either in the chemical business or you're in the chemical business, right? New York, what is it? It's a lot of things. It's service, but at the high level, it's finance.
Wall Street.
Well, yeah, right. We're not just eds and meds in Philly, as people say. We are also manufacturing. We are also fabrication. We are also, just
Hospitality.
Right. Hospitality happened to be the capital of the United States, whatever. Like we have a diversity of employment here that I think has kept us, dare I use a hockey reference, gritty and led to our sustained growth. And I believe wholeheartedly that will continue. We will have dips and dives just like we did in 08 and 09, but they were triggered again, not because of the Philadelphia market, but the national scenario, when lenders were no longer lending on condo projects and people were in the middle of building condo.
Right.
You couldn't get a condo project approved to sell any units in it. That jammed us up. Right.
I recall.
But
And I recall how some people weren't listening to me either.
Sure. But recall, was that because of a lack of interest in Philadelphia, or was that?
No, it was a national issue, and they looked at condos like they looked at condos in New York City and Miami, and they were more like these big towers. Our condo market's already different, as you know.
Yeah.
It's more mid-rise projects. Anyway, they didn't look at it properly. And it took a while to get that figured out.
Yeah, it did. And those who survived, and those who didn't. And
yeah, there was a lot that went bust from that for sure.
Yeah, there was. And now take a look at it. We're in a strangely similar cycle. Anybody with a pickup truck is a developer again, because money's available. And that is my consumer notice portion of the show. Like, you better be working, if you're buying or renting in a real estate transaction, you better be working with someone who understands how buildings are built at the most basic levels to begin with. Because I get too many phone calls from people who are looking for a rental, for instance, because the unit that they moved into has had black mold for the 3 months that they've been living in it, like they're, and it's buyer beware. So the strength of the realtor, I believe, in this world that we're living in, will continue to be important. And I hope people are choosing realtors based on their experience and not just based on their sphere or their friends and family scenario. Right.
No, I think it's critical that you have an expert by your side in this market, especially if you're a seller and you're looking to navigate this. Some areas are like Center City's a steady market, so there's not like tons of multiple offers or anything like that. But if you're a single family house in the burbs, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Delaware County, chances and your property's worth $485 or more, chances are you're going to have a bidding war for that property. Yeah. And so it's important that you work with an expert on navigating that and really how to maximize the value of your property, because it's a great opportunity for those sellers. And then on the buy side, right, you need to have that expert by your side to make sure, especially if you're buying new construction or if you're in a multiple bid situation, how to structure the deal for the win.
And for the inspections, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes, and don't waive.
Don't waive. I've represented dozens of suburban sales, and everybody's calling me, what's your offer process? When are you getting back to us? I go, we deal it rolling. Like, give me an offer, I'm going to give you a response. We're not playing games. Well, do we need to waive the inspection? I go, no, don't waive the inspection. If you want to put because I don't want the liability.
Exactly. We don't want the liability as brokers, no doubt.
Exactly. But do your inspection. Here's how you might be more competitive than somebody else. Make it for informational purposes only and do it in 5 days.
So I think that the agents and the buyers are a little bit scared because they feel like every house there's going to be multiple offers. What do they need to do? And are you waiting for 4 days to take offers? You know, because I've called and had those conversations myself because every seller is different. Some sellers don't want to have 100 people through their house. They want to just be sold, right?
Yeah.
So make the offer, get it in, and put a deadline on it.
Right. Absolutely. And you know, I have some other sellers that want to go fishing, as I say. Do you want to go fishing or you want to go catching? And some people are want to get a bidding war going on and just scrape the last nickel off the table. That's their prerogative. But the majority of the folks that I work with, because I'm able to navigate and manage the conversations and find what they're ultimately interested in doing, the goal for them, and beeline to it. It's like, look, let's put it up. Let's get you where you need to be. And let's move on. Like, go on to the next chapter in your life, right? And because that's typically always moving, and typically buying another house, right? So like,
Sure.
let's not goof around. Put a strike price out there, and if we get that or better, we move on with a qualified buyer and acceptable terms. So it is important. And the deals that have blown up that I've had listings on that have not closed, 1,000% related to inexperienced realtors. 1,000%. And that's not blame. That's just a fact. And my style is always, as soon as we get a deal together, we are all on the same team. We share a common goal. It's called settlement. So
yes, getting it to the table.
Exactly. Whatever I can do for your buyer, trust me to be of service. I will do anything and everything I can do for your side for our transaction.
Right. And sometimes it's taking over the transaction and making it happen. I mean, we've had a call, we represent seller, we've had to call buyers to keep everybody because the agent just on that side, unfortunately, wasn't able to communicate and convey the message that we needed to be conveyed.
That's it.
So
communication lost in translation. That's what blows things up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I love you. You're the best.
I love you too. You're awesome.
I always love talking to you and seeing you, and we'll have to figure out, like, I don't know, maybe some real estate event will come up or something and we'll be at it together, but there's not been too many things going on. So, but hopefully I'll see you this fall.
Cool.
It's great to see you. Thank you so much. I am so grateful and thankful for you being on the show today.
My best to Lisa, my best to everyone in your office.
Yes. Tell Tiffany I said hello, and I'm glad to hear the family and everybody's doing well. So stay healthy and keep on trucking, Johnny.
Likewise. Thanks, Maria. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.